70% of drivers signing a lease this week will pay $80,000 for a luxury vehicle they do not actually own, not because the bank holds the title, but because the corporation holds the physical hardware hostage behind a monthly subscription paywall. Today, we're exposing exactly why smart drivers are abandoning modern dealerships entirely to buy 20-year-old German luxury cars with raw cash. Sit tight, because the data harvesting trap at number 4 will completely change how you view a touchscreen. Hit subscribe to protect your privacy. Let us begin. Number 10. The depreciation slaughter. When you walk into a modern dealership and sign the financing paperwork for a brand new luxury sedan, you feel successful. You smell the fresh leather. You look at the glass screens. You drive off the lot. The moment your rear tires cross the painted line into the public street, you lose $20,000. The modern luxury car market operates on a brutal, unforgiving curve of financial destruction known as depreciation. A brand new Mercedes S-Class easily costs $120,000. 3 years later, that exact same car sells on the used market for $60,000. You lost $60,000 in 36 months. That is a loss of $1,600 every single month, simply for the privilege of holding the steering wheel. But the financial bleeding does not stop there. Because you finance the purchase price, you are paying an 8% interest rate to the bank. Over a 5-year loan, the bank extracts an additional $15,000 in raw interest. You are paying interest on an asset that is rapidly evaporating in value. You did not build wealth, you destroyed it. Smart drivers refuse to participate in this financial slaughter. They look at the depreciation curve and realize that after 20 years, the curve flattens out. It reaches the bottom. You can purchase a pristine, well-maintained 2006 Mercedes E-Class for exactly $5,000 in raw cash. It possesses leather seats, it possesses wood trim, it rides like a cloud on the highway. Here is the financial magic. You drive that $5,000 car for 4 years. You put 40,000 miles on the odometer. You keep it clean. When you decide to sell it in 2030, the market value of a clean, running 20-year-old Mercedes is still exactly $5,000. You drove a German luxury sedan for 4 years for free. You bypassed the monthly payments. You bypass the astronomical collision insurance premiums required for financed cars. A brand new car requires expensive full coverage insurance. A $5,000 car only requires basic liability. You kept your raw cash sitting in an investment account generating compound interest, while the modern consumer burned their money on a depreciating piece of glass and steel. The financial loss is, but the corporate extortion trap at number 9 proves that you do not even own the new car you just bought. Number 9. The corporate subscription extortion. In a 20-year-old Mercedes, when you look at the center console, you see a row of heavy physical buttons. You see a button for heated seats. You see a button for dual-zone climate control. When you press the button, the seat gets hot. You paid for the car, you own the hardware, and the hardware functions perfectly for the rest of your life. Modern automotive corporations despise this model. They looked at software companies and decided they wanted recurring monthly revenue. They invented the subscription extortion trap. When you buy a 2026 Mercedes, the factory installs the physical heating elements inside your leather seats. They install the heavy copper wiring harnesses. You physically paid for those parts when you bought the car. But when the winter hits and you push the button on the digital screen, the seat remains freezing cold. A digital prompt appears on your dashboard screen. It demands you pay a monthly subscription fee of $18 to unlock the feature. The corporation holds the physical hardware in your car hostage behind a digital software paywall. They are executing a ransom operation against their own customers. If your credit card expires, or if you refuse to pay the ransom, the corporation sends an over-the-air software update directly to your vehicle and bricks the hardware. They are doing this with heated seats. They are doing this with remote engine start features. They are even doing this with engine horsepower, demanding yearly fees to unlock the full acceleration capability of the electric motors you already own. In some models, they literally charge you a subscription to allow the rear wheels to steer at their maximum physical angle. You are paying $80,000 for a car, but you are treated like a renter in your own cabin. You possess zero ownership rights over the physical modules bolted into your chassis. Smart drivers reject this dystopian corporate greed. They buy the older models where the hardware belongs entirely to the driver. The button works because it is wired directly to a physical electrical relay, not to a corporate server, verifying your credit card status. The subscription trap drains your wallet every month, but the digital failure at number 8 will leave you stranded in the brutal summer heat. Number 8. The screen brick catastrophe. In the early 2000s, automotive engineers followed a strict, heavily disciplined philosophy. Every single critical function of the vehicle possessed a dedicated physical control module. The radio had a heavy volume knob. The air conditioning had an analog dial. The hazard lights had a plastic button. If the radio broke, you simply drove the car in silence. The air conditioning still worked flawlessly because the circuits were entirely isolated. Modern luxury cars abandoned this modular architecture entirely. They ripped every single physical button out of the cabin and replaced the entire dashboard with a continuous sheet of glowing glass. They call it a hyperscreen. They route every single vehicle function through a centralized computer operating system. This creates a catastrophic single point of failure. When you park your modern car in the brutal summer sun, the cabin temperature reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Electronics despise extreme thermal environments. The glass screen overheats. The central computer processor throttles down to prevent melting. The operating system crashes. You get into the car. The screen is black. Because the corporation removed the physical buttons, you are entirely helpless. You cannot turn on the air conditioning. You cannot adjust the ventilation fans. You cannot open the glove box. You cannot even change the driving modes or tune the radio. The entire cabin is bricked by a simple software glitch or a blown digital fuse. You must drive to the dealership in the blazing heat. The service advisor tells you the central display module is dead. The replacement screen costs $4,000. The labor to tear apart the dashboard costs another $2,000. You face a $6,000 repair bill just to fix your air conditioning interface. Smart drivers buy the 20-year-old Mercedes because the dashboard is packed with heavy, tactile analog dials. The climate control module operates independently of the stereo system. It is a robust, isolated system built to survive decades of thermal stress. If a single bulb burns out behind the temperature dial, you go to the auto parts store, buy a $2 bulb, pop the dial off, and fix it yourself in 3 minutes. The digital screen traps you in a repair nightmare, but the physical distraction at number 7 actively tries to cause a highway collision. Number 7. The tactile muscle memory. Driving a heavy metal machine at 80 miles per hour down a crowded interstate highway requires unbreakable visual concentration. Your eyes must remain locked on the road ahead, scanning for brake lights, erratic drivers, and sudden road hazards. In a 20-year-old Mercedes, the entire cabin architecture respects this biological reality. The center console is designed with heavy, tactile, physical buttons. The buttons feature distinct shapes, heavy rubber ridges, and metallic detents. When you want to increase the cabin temperature, you do not need to look down. Your hand drops from the steering wheel. Your fingers find the rubberized dial. You feel the heavy mechanical click as you turn the dial 2 notches to the right. Your eyes never leave the road. Your brain develops an instinctual muscle memory for every single control in the cabin. You operate the entire vehicle blind. Modern luxury cars destroyed this safety protocol. They replaced the tactile buttons with flat, featureless glass touchscreens. Glass provides zero physical feedback. You cannot feel a digital slider. When you want to adjust the air conditioning or switch the radio station in a 2026 Mercedes, you must physically take your eyes off the highway. You must look down at the glowing iPad in the center console. You must navigate through 3 different digital submenus. You must tap a flat piece of glass while the car bounces over potholes, causing your finger to miss the tiny digital icon. You spend 5 seconds looking at a screen instead of looking at the highway. At 80 miles per hour, your car travels over 600 feet in those 5 seconds. You cover the length of 2 football fields while blind to the physical world. The touch screens are not a technological upgrade. They are an engineered distraction that causes devastating rear-end collisions. Smart drivers refuse to compromise their physical safety for a flashy digital aesthetic. They buy the older generation of cars because the analog controls allow them to operate the machine purely by touch. They keep their eyes forward. They survive the highway. If you hate touchscreen controls in modern cars, hit the subscribe button right now. We demand the physical buttons back. The glass screens cause severe accidents, but the sensor web at number 6 turns a minor fender bender into financial ruin. Number 6. The sensor web extortion. In the year 2006, a car bumper was exactly what the name implied. It was a piece of heavy injection-molded plastic mounted over a thick steel crash bar. Its entire purpose was to absorb low-speed impacts and protect the expensive metal body panels. If you bumped a concrete pillar in a grocery store parking lot, you scratched the paint. If the plastic cracked, you drove to a salvage yard, bought a replacement bumper for $200, and bolted it onto your car in 30 minutes. It was a cheap, disposable shield. Modern luxury cars transformed the simple plastic bumper into the most expensive, fragile component on the entire vehicle. The corporation packed the front and rear bumpers with a highly sensitive, interconnected web of digital surveillance equipment. A modern bumper houses fragile ultrasonic parking sensors, adaptive cruise control radar emitters, LiDAR modules, and high-definition pedestrian cameras. When you tap a concrete pillar in a 2026 Mercedes at 5 miles per hour, the plastic cover does not just crack. The low-speed impact crushes the delicate radar module. It snaps the complex wiring harness for the ultrasonic sensors. It shatters the lens of the high-definition camera. You take the car to the dealership body shop. The service advisor hands you a repair estimate that looks like a down payment on a house. The raw electronic parts cost $4,000, but the true extortion lies in the software. You cannot simply bolt new sensors onto the car. The modern safety systems require a rigorous process called dynamic recalibration. The dealership charges you $1,500 in pure labor to plug a proprietary laptop into the car, align specialized laser targets on the shop floor, and drive the car around a track to teach the new sensors how to see the road. A simple 5-mile-per-hour parking lot bump results in a $6,000 insurance claim. Your insurance premiums double the next month to cover the loss. Smart drivers buy the 20-year-old Mercedes because the bumpers are dumb. They contain zero radar. They contain zero cameras. They contain chunks of impact-absorbing foam. You can bump a wall, shrug your shoulders, and drive away without filing a financial claim. The sensor web extorts you in the body shop, but the encrypted software wall at number 5 locks you out of your own garage entirely. Number 5. The mechanic independence. One of the greatest joys of vehicle ownership is personal maintenance. When a sensor fails or a spark plug dies, a competent driver can open the hood, diagnose the problem, and fix the machine. The early 2000s represent the golden age of the shade tree mechanic. A 20-year-old Mercedes utilizes the Universal Onboard Diagnostics 2 protocol. When the check engine light illuminates on the dashboard, you walk to the local auto parts store. You buy a basic $20 code scanner. You plug it into the port beneath the steering wheel. The scanner reads a simple universal code. It tells you the exact oxygen sensor that failed. You buy the sensor for $50. You use a basic wrench to install it. The car runs perfectly. Modern automotive corporations viewed this mechanical independence as a loss of corporate revenue. They built an impenetrable digital wall to stop you. When you open the hood of a 2026 Mercedes, you cannot fix anything. The corporation encrypted the vehicle communication network. They locked the onboard computers behind a cybersecurity gateway. Your basic $20 scanner cannot read the codes. It cannot communicate with the machine. To diagnose a modern car, a mechanic must possess a proprietary dealership diagnostic laptop. They must pay the corporation an annual subscription fee of $10,000 just to access the software. Furthermore, the laptop requires an active, continuous internet connection directly to the corporate servers in Germany to authorize any repairs. If you try to replace a broken headlight module on a modern car, the computer will reject the new part. The car will refuse to turn the light on because the new part lacks the correct digital cryptographic signature. You are forced to tow the car to the dealership and pay them $200 in labor just to digitally unlock the headlight you already installed yourself. Smart drivers buy the older generation of cars because they refuse to be held hostage by encrypted software. They want the freedom to fix their own machine with basic hand tools on a Saturday morning. The digital wall locks you out of your engine, but the terrifying surveillance technology at number 4 sells your private data to the highest bidder. Number 4, the corporate data harvest. When you step inside a 20-year-old Mercedes, you are entering a private, isolated sanctuary. The car does not possess a cellular antenna. It does not connect to the global internet. It does not possess a microphone listening to your private conversations. You turn the key, the engine fires, and you vanish into the world. You are a complete ghost on the grid. Modern luxury cars are the exact opposite. They are highly advanced, rolling surveillance nodes designed to harvest your raw behavioral data and monetize your entire life. When you purchase a modern car, you sign a 50-page digital terms of service agreement on the dashboard screen. You click accept without reading the fine print. You just authorize the corporation to track your every physical movement. The car uses the cellular antenna to maintain a permanent connection to the corporate servers. It tracks your exact global positioning system coordinates every single second. It records every location you visit, how long you stay, and the exact route you take to get home. But the surveillance goes much deeper than location tracking. The car monitors your raw driving behavior. The internal computers record every time you accelerate aggressively. They record every time you hit the brakes hard. They record your average highway cruising speed. If you sync your smartphone to the infotainment system, the car copies your entire contact list and reads your incoming text messages. The corporation packages this behavioral dossier and sells it directly to data brokers and insurance conglomerates. Your car literally snitches on you. You drive slightly over the speed limit on a rural highway. You brake hard to avoid a deer. The car transmits this data to the cloud. Your insurance company buys the data, flags your profile as a high-risk aggressive driver, and quietly raises your monthly premium by $50. You're paying $80,000 for a machine that actively works against your financial interests. Smart drivers are terrified of this corporate surveillance network. They are actively hunting down 20-year-old luxury cars because they lack the physical hardware required to connect to the internet. They want a machine that respects their privacy. The corporate data harvest sells your secrets, but the catastrophic powertrain engineering at number 3 guarantees your engine will explode after the warranty ends. Number 3. The powertrain immortality. If you look under the hood of a modern luxury car, you will find a highly stressed, microscopic engine. Strict government emissions regulations forced automotive corporations to abandon heavy engines. They replaced them with tiny 2-liter 4-cylinder blocks. To generate the heavy horsepower required to move a 2-ton luxury sedan, the engineers bolt twin turbochargers to the tiny engine. They force amounts of pressurized air into the small cylinders. They push the internal metal components to the extreme edge of metallurgical tolerance. The tiny engine produces power, but it operates in a state of continuous, violent stress. The extreme heat destroys the plastic timing chain guides. The cylinder pressure blows out the head gaskets. These modern, highly strung engines are engineered to survive the 4-year factory warranty. The moment the odometer hits 80,000 miles, the engine requires a $10,000 internal rebuild. The 20-year-old Mercedes operates on a different engineering philosophy. In the early 2000s, Mercedes dropped naturally aspirated engines into their cars. They used the legendary M112 V6 and the M113 V8 engines. These engines do not rely on aggressive turbochargers. They do not operate under extreme internal pressure. They rarely overbuilt blocks of thick German aluminum. Because the engine does not work hard to produce power, it experiences very little internal friction and wear. These engines are renowned for bulletproof reliability. If you change the synthetic oil on a strict schedule, an M113 V8 will easily cross 300,000 miles without requiring a single major internal repair. They paired these immortal engines with the legendary 5G-tronic automatic transmission. This heavy mechanical gearbox was originally designed to handle the torque of a V12 twin-turbo engine. When bolted behind a standard V6 or V8, the transmission is unstressed. It shifts flawlessly for decades. Smart drivers do not want a highly stressed, turbocharged time bomb. They want an understressed block of heavy metal that will outlast the current century. Leave a comment below right now and tell us the highest mileage you ever reached on a naturally aspirated engine. We read every single comment. The powertrain is immortal, but the physical architecture at number 2 surrounds you in a heavy vault of safety. Number 2. The vault-like build. Quality. Before the accountants and the corporate bean counters took over the global automotive industry, engineers dictated the design of a luxury car. The primary objective was uncompromising build quality and longevity. When you walk up to a 20-year-old Mercedes E-Class and pull the exterior handle, you feel the raw weight of the machine. When you swing the door shut, it does not sound like a hollow tin can. It produces a deep, heavy, resonant thud. It sounds exactly like closing the steel door of a bank vault. This is not an accident. It is the result of using thick, heavy-gauge steel for the exterior body panels. The engineers packed the doors with bars of solid side impact protection metal. They designed the cabin to be isolated from the chaotic outside world. In a modern car, the manufacturer uses active noise cancellation software and microphones to pump anti-noise through the speakers to hide the cheap, thin glass. In a 20-year-old Mercedes, the silence is achieved through physical mass. They used thick, dual-pane acoustic glass for the windows. They packed the floorboards with heavy, dense rubber sound deadening material. When you drive down the highway at 80 miles per hour, the cabin is dead silent. You do not hear the wind, you do not hear the tires. You only hear the mechanical perfection of the engine. The interior materials reflect this exact same heavy philosophy. The modern luxury car is packed with cheap, brittle piano black plastic that scratches the second you wipe it with a microfiber towel. The older cars use slabs of real, thick-cut walnut wood. They use dense, heavy leather that resists tearing and wearing out. The entire physical architecture of the vehicle was designed to last forever. The car feels solid, planted, and incredibly heavy on the road. In the event of a high-speed highway collision, that physical weight provides an incredible layer of structural safety that lightweight modern cars struggle to replicate. The heavy vault quality protects your physical body, but the ultimate secret at number 1 is the exact reason this specific era is the greatest automotive loophole in history. Number 1. The pre-screen loophole. When you analyze the entire timeline of automotive history, you realize that vehicle design operates on a bell curve. In the 1980s and early 90s, cars were incredibly reliable, but they were Spartan. They lacked modern safety features. They lacked advanced advanced climate control. They were loud on the highway. In the 2020s, cars became incredibly luxurious, but they became toxic. They are loaded with invasive surveillance software, subscription extortion, fragile digital touchscreens, and highly stressed engines. The peak of the bell curve occurred in the early to mid-2000s. This specific era is known as the pre-screen loophole. When you buy a 20-year-old Mercedes, you hit the sweet spot of human engineering. You get every single modern luxury feature you actually care about. You get heated leather seats with complex memory functions. You get dual-zone automatic climate control that keeps the cabin freezing cold in the summer. You get advanced anti-lock brakes, electronic stability control, and a cabin packed with curtain airbags for crash safety. You get electronic cruise control for cross-country road trips. You get all of the luxury, but it stops right before the toxic digital era begins. You get the heated seats, but you do not have to pay a monthly subscription fee to use them. You get the perfect climate control, but you adjust it with a tactile button instead of a fragile glass iPad that crashes in the heat. You get the incredible highway cruising, but you do not have a cellular antenna tracking your global positioning coordinates and selling them to your insurance company. You get the vault-like build quality and the immortal, under-stressed engine, free from the encrypted diagnostic walls that force you to visit the dealership. The modern automotive industry wants you trapped in a cycle of monthly payments, rapid depreciation, and digital dependency. They want you to lease a rolling smartphone and return it every 3 years. Smart drivers reject this modern matrix. They step outside the corporate cycle. They buy the heavy, analog, brilliantly engineered machines from the golden era. They pay cash. They own the hardware. They protect their privacy. They drive in luxury for a fraction of the cost. If you want to escape the car payment trap, you must look at the local classifieds. Find a clean, well-maintained 20-year-old German vault. Protect your wallet, protect your data, and enjoy the drive. Click the next video on your screen right now to uncover the 15 Mercedes parts you should never buy from the dealership and exactly where to get them for half the price. We expose the corporate markups. We will see you there. Thanks for watching.